The sickness came from across the sea. At first, it was only a word carried by boats passed from hand to hand along the shore. Men who had been to the islands spoke of it quietly. They did not say much. They said enough. Villages there had gone silent. Doors had stayed closed for weeks. In this village by the water, people listened. Then they turned and looked out at the horizon. The sea was calm that day. It stayed calm. Rumors change shape as they travel. By the time it reached the village, the sickness had a face. They said a god was riding on a ship. They said the ship was coming here. Nobody knew who had said it first. It did not matter. That night the shutters closed early. The lamps went out early. Children were called inside before the light was gone. The village went quiet in the way a place goes quiet when everyone is listening for the same thing. People did what frightened people do. Some packed what they could carry and left before morning. Some nailed boards across their windows. Some talked about salt and fire and drums, about how to drive a god back down into the water. They argued in low voices for 3 days. Nothing they decided made anyone feel better. The sea stayed flat. The horizon stayed empty. The waiting, it turned out, was its own kind of sickness. There was a girl in the village. She was young enough that nobody expected her to say anything at all. She listened to the men talk about fire and drums, and then she said something else. "If it is a god," she said, "driving it away will only make it angry." The room went still. She did not raise her voice. She said it the way you say a thing you have been turning over for a long time. "So let it come," she said, "and let it leave happy." So the village did something strange. They cleaned. They swept the path that came up from the shore. They opened the shutters they had just closed. In the kitchens, the women cooked as if for a wedding. Fish, rice, sweet things, the food you make for someone important. Nobody used the word guest. Nobody used the word God either. They only worked side by side faster than they needed to. It is easier to be afraid with your hands busy. An old man brought out his Sanshin, a 3-stringed lute, and tuned it on the step outside his house. A few others came and sat down beside him. They picked out the songs. Not the sad ones, the bright ones, the ones for festivals. They practiced in the afternoon light, and once somebody laughed at a wrong note and then covered his mouth, embarrassed. It was a strange sound to hear that week. It was not a bad sound. Then it was night. The mist came in off the water the way it always did, low and slow, moving up over the sand. They had set a place for it near the shore. Mats, lamps, bowls of food still warm. The people stood behind all of it in their good clothes and waited. Somewhere in the back, a child asked a question and was hushed. The lamps leaned in the wind. Nobody went home. The mist opened. Someone was walking up out of the water. Not waiting, walking. The robe was red. The deep red you only ever see on festival days and on nothing else. The face beneath it was not a face anybody knew. It came up the sand toward the lamp slowly, taking its time, the way a guest arrives when the guest knows he is expected. Behind the mats, nobody moved. The old man's hands were shaking on the strings. He played anyway. The first note came out thin. The second one held. Then the others came in behind him, and the song was the bright one, the festival one, and the whole village bowed low and smiled. All of them smiling. All of them shaking. "Welcome," someone said. "Please, sit down." It was the most frightened those people had ever been in their lives. And they sang. The god sat down. It ate a little. It watched the dancing. Nobody could tell whether it was pleased. It did not speak and it did not leave. And after a while, people stopped watching it every second. And the music got easier. And the night went on the way nights go on. The lamps burned low. Somebody poured more. Out past the mats, the sea kept moving, black and quiet. Near the end, when the songs had gone soft, the girl came forward. She knelt down where the god could see her. She did not ask it to leave. She did not ask it to spare them. "Please," she said, "if you have to give it to us lightly. Let the children keep their faces. Let the ones who take it get up again." That was all she asked for. She stayed on her knees a moment longer, then went back to her place. Before the sky turned, the god stood up. It walked back down the sand, past the burnt-out lamps, past the bowls, into the mist. The water took it the way water takes anything. Nobody followed it. Nobody spoke for a long time. Then someone began very quietly to gather up the dishes, because it was morning and there were dishes. The sickness came that year. It came lightly. Some said that proved something. Some said it proved nothing at all. Either way, the village kept the custom. Every time the word came across the water, they cooked, and they tuned the strings, and they welcomed in the thing they were most afraid of. Far from the sea, up in the mountains, another village would face the same question. Their answer was not the same. Up in the hills, the roads are narrow and the news is slow. Still, it got there. A traveler had been seen, a black straw hat, an old walking stick. He came through a village, stayed one night, and moved on. And a few days later, that village got sick. Then it happened again somewhere else. People said it the way you say a thing you do not believe yet. Then they said it again. The next village over. Then the one below the ridge. Then the one you could see from the top of the pass if you climbed up far enough to look. They stopped telling it as a story. They started counting the days. Somebody's aunt lived down there. Somebody's brother. The letters got shorter, and then the letters stopped. The mountain in between did not seem as wide as it used to. A boy was up on the pass road gathering wood when he saw him. The hat first, then the stick, then the face under the brim. White, too white. The white of something that has never once been out in the sun. The traveler did not look up. The boy ran the whole way down. The men in the village listened to him, and then they laughed. Sickness does not walk, they told him. Sickness does not wear a hat. He came that evening. He stopped at the gate at the edge of the village and stood there. He did not knock. He did not call out. He simply stood, at the exact distance where a person waits to be invited in. The rain started while he was standing there. It came down harder. He did not move under anything. The whole village came out to look at him through the rain. There was a rule in those mountains, older than anyone living. A traveler at your gate in the rain gets a roof. You do not ask him who he is. Turn him away and you are not a village anymore. You are only houses. But if they opened the gate and if the stories were true, then everything that followed would be under their own roof. They stood in their doorways and looked at each other, and nobody could say it out loud. The boy walked out to him, alone. He got close enough to see the rain running off the brim of the hat. "Are you the god of plague?" he asked. The traveler did not answer him. He did not say yes, and he did not say no. He only asked a question back, in a voice that was not loud at all. "Even so," he said, "will you open this gate?" The boy went back inside and told them, and they talked it over, all of them, standing out in the rain. What they decided was neither yes nor no. They did not open the gate. They did not send him away. There was a hut outside the village at the edge of the fields, and they made it warm. They carried food down to it. They carried a lamp. They took turns sitting outside the door, 2 at a time, all night long. In the morning, the hut was empty. The bowls had been set neatly against the wall. The lamp was out. The ground outside was soft from the rain, and there was one line of footprints going away from the village, up toward the pass. The men followed them to the top and stopped there. The prince went over the ridge and kept going. The village did not get sick that year. A few days later, the sickness broke out in the town on the other side of the mountain, and it stayed there a long time. The boy was an old man before he stopped thinking about it. Did we turn something away that night? He wondered. Or did it just pass us by, the way weather passes, and we happened to be standing under the good part of the sky? He never worked it out. In Japan, a god is not always something good. Thunder is a god. Fire is a god. So is the sickness that comes off a boat and the one that walks over a mountain. The word does not mean kind, it means larger than us. And when a thing is larger than us, you do not fight it. You set out food. You play it a song. You bow and you ask it politely to be gentle, and then to go. Both of those villages were doing the same thing in their own way. Neither of them was ever sure it worked. They did it anyway. I keep thinking about the old man's hands shaking on the strings. He was terrified and he played the bright song anyway. I'm not sure that saved anyone. I'm not sure it didn't. Both villages set out food for the thing they were most afraid of, and both of them spent the rest of their lives wondering whether it had mattered. I think I would have wondered too. I keep asking myself what I would have done at that gate in the rain. I wonder what you would have done. Good night.